Okay, so this is a item tier list for Phasmophobia. Okay. So for the current patch, let's see. What did they have on this? That's a photo cam. Is that a video cam? I think so. That honestly should just say what the item is because you can't tell. I can understand the UV flashlight not showing. That tripod, thermo, strong flashlight, spirit box, smudge stick, sound sensor, sanity pills, salt. Okay, they do have infrared. Okay, yeah, they have every item here. I was just making sure. So I will be using 5 tiers because there are items that are actually completely useless, while there are some items that are only useful for objectives or finding the ghost. And then there's items that determine the ghost type and all that. And then there's the items that are actually just extremely useful. So, for the ghost writing book, personally, I'm going to put that in B tier because it does help you in determining what ghost type it is, but that's all it does for you. And at that point, it really doesn't help you that much. So, if it's that's pretty much the whole reason that that item would be useless in comparison to other items that are above it. Like, it's not a useless item like some items below that are in C and D tier. Like, the C tier items are items that have, like, niche uses. While the writing, well, it is a quote-unquote niche use, I only would consider it better because, one, you get an interaction photo off of it, and two, you get one thing towards the ghost type. Now that's really the whole thing behind why I would put the ghost book in B tier rather than C tier. Candles are A tier. Candles, they do require a lighter, which personally, lighters on their own are useless, but lighters are also something used in that. So basically, lighters are also going to be talked about in a bit, but candles are useful because you can find out the ghost room with it. You can keep your sanity up with it in the dark. And that's if you're needing to conserve sanity because you're out of sanity pills. Or if you're trying to conserve sanity because you're doing a no sanity pill challenge. It's basically a way of reducing the hunts that you're gonna get. So that's really a big thing. Like, candles are extremely useful. Also, you have an objective with candles. So there's 3 uses, 2 of which are really good. Crucifixes are S tier. Actually, no, they're A tier. They're below candle. Um, so crucifixes, I was going to put them in S tier, but then I thought about it. 2 charges that prevent hunts. There's a 5-second delay after each use, which was added later. So this did buff them, but I don't think it buffed them a tier. However, they also have an objective, and I think having the ability to prevent 2 hunts when you're in hunting range is very valuable. They also have a 3-meter range, unless it's a Banshee, in which case it's 5 meters. So that's a pretty good radius. EMF readers. I'm gonna put EMF readers uh, above candles even, actually. So The first thing is that you can, like a candle, but more reliable. You can find the ghost room off of any interaction or like the ghost spawning you get in the NMF. So you'll get it also is a evidence if you get EMF 5. It has an objective and it can tell you when a hunt's starting, which if you drop your flashlight and don't see where it's at, that can actually save you. So the EMF reader being better than the candle for those four reasons, like it's a more reliable way of finding the ghost than the candle, but but the candle's still reliable. It also takes one item slot instead of two if you want to carry around and be able to relight your candle for finding the ghost room. So that's another bonus of the EMF is that you're using one slot instead of two for finding the ghost if you want to be on a large map with the candle method. Basic flashlight, I'd say is C tier. Like a lot of people will say that it's like D tier, but it's not useless. It's like, it's useful, but only for like two things in the entire game. Like it's almost a B tier. It's like top of C tier. And the reason why is you can see, and then you can tell when the ghost is hunting. That is it. Like you can see with lights off. That's really the benefit. Headcam, honestly, I'd say a it does come up, but I'm gonna put headcams in C tier. A lot of people will probably put them higher, but the reason I'll put them lower than most items it is the fact like I'll put it above the flashlight because it's got a better use, but it's like a worse video cam because it only is useful in multiplayer. So it's like worse video cam in every way possible. But in VR, I know you can take off head cams in VR. I don't know if they stay on if you put them down on like a table. So they might be a B tier item in VR, but they are definitely a C tier item in non VR because it requires two players. And then on top of it, uh, the person shakes a little bit every time. So like checking for ghost orbs can be kind of hard, and they have to turn off their flashlight, which can risk killing the other player. So it's really got its downsides, which is why I'm putting it in C tier. But because you can find ghost orbs on it and freezing temps, if there's three players, I'm putting it above flashlight. Infrared light sensors are horrible. They're basically a motion sensor with no use practically. Like, yeah, you can test like one thing, but it's super niche and it's risky. Therefore, it's not advised to do this. Like, you can rev test, but you have to have a smudge stick on top of that, which, if you're having to have another item to make like another two items to make this item useful, then it's useless. Like, that is the big thing. Like, it's better than the sound sensor because, like, the sound sensor can help you find the room, but you're better off using your actual ears and going in there than using the sound sensor. Because roaming ghosts are much easier to determine off of being in the building. So, infrared light sensors end up being a little bit better because of the ability to, like, you could, if you put it on a wall in a line, you could determine a phantom, but that's like the only use I can think of that is actually decent. And you have to have a long enough hallway for that to be good. Like, I know some areas where you can do it, so that's why it's going to be higher than the worst item. But yeah, lighters. Lighters are actually really useful only because of what they do for you. Like, some people would say that, oh, it only lights things, but what it lights is what makes it useful. Because you're lighting either a candle or a smudge stick. But those are its two purposes. Like, the candle can light the smudge stick as well, but it takes a little bit more effort than if you did the other methods, so lighters tend to be slightly more useful in that method. But you can also light candles in the building and use them as if they were candles you brought. And I wish there were more uses for the lighter, to be honest, despite that. But the lighter's good. It's not the best item out of A tier, but it's definitely not a bad item, only because of what it lights. Motion sensors. Motion sensors, let me put them lower than that, are only useful when you have the motion sensor objective and if you want to do a rev test, which is risky. You can't really do a phantom test with this one. You can do a few other things, but rev tests are super risky. And usually if you're not careful, you die. So that's why motion sensors are in C tier, is they have an objective, but they don't really have any use outside of that that is really useful. The parabolic microphone. Now, the paramic used to be the worst item in the game. Um, but now, ever since the buffs, uh, they made it actually usable in some maps. It's not amazing. Like, it can help you find the ghost room, but if they nerfed door sounds to be closer to your hearing than the paramic, or if they made the paramic like longer and then shortened the door sounds to, like, let's say like 30 meters while the paramic has like a 40-meter range, the paramic would be good on large maps. So it serves a niche in certain scenarios if you're really bad at determining what floor something is on, but that's about it. So it's a niche. You can literally find the ghost room. Like, I've tried to find the ghost room easily, and I've determined an area really fast without focusing on where those sounds came from in high school. Like, I'm really bad at determining where sounds are on high school on certain floors. So the paramic definitely needs a few more buffs, and then I'd say it's like either top of C tier or bottom of B tier. But otherwise it's kind of niche, and so it's not very useful. Now, don't worry about the knocking if you're wondering about that. Now, the next thing, glow sticks. Honestly, I'd put glow sticks at bottom of A because they're like a UV light with a radius. So, like, you can also use it up close at a door, or you can illuminate an area with ultraviolet light and it'll show footsteps, which is really useful. Like, being able to show two types of an evidence type and a photo evidence thing that you can get is fantastic, because footsteps are also just as valuable as interaction. So it ends up being really useful. And you can also use it as a light source if you don't have like flashlights as an option. So, however, you can't tell when a hunt starts. That's the downside compared to like the UV light. But other than that, it's fantastic. Salt is actually, I'm putting it here. Salt is amazing. You can determine a ghost type off of it immediately. Like you can determine wraiths off of it. It does increase wraiths activity, but you also get footsteps for every other ghost type. And it's also an objective. Like, it also can help you determine the room, but I wouldn't use it for that personally, as you only get 6 uses of salt per match. And honestly, if they allowed you to add more salt, I would be happy and would honestly say that that would bump it up a little bit. Not like a space, but it's definitely really useful. Sanity pills are honestly, like, I'd say they're worse than a crucifix because one sanity pill does give you 40 sanity, but a crucifix prevents 2 hunts a while sanity pills only prevent it for, like, they delay the inevitable hunts if you're not putting lights on, and they only really bump up your sanity. A lot of people might overrate them. And that's just because of that. Like, you get 4, but like if salt had more uses, that would be better. But sanity pills have 1 use per bottle, which means if you're playing solo, you get 160 sanity as in pill form, plus your 100, so you get effectively 260. But that sanity drain is faster on multiplayer, so you're gonna go through your sanity pills a lot faster. And then on top of it, sanity can be drained really fast by the ghost in the first place. So I don't think sanity pills are as good as like a glow stick or a lighter for that reason. Smudge sticks are just the best item in the game. If you say otherwise, you're just straight up wrong. And yes, it requires 2 slots to use effectively, but smudge sticks can prevent a hunt for a minute and a half if it's not a spirit, and 3 minutes if it is a spirit. And then on top of it, during a hunt, it will put the ghost into roaming for 5 seconds, which allows you to hide, which can save you. It's actually the whole reason that good players don't tend to die. Like, I think these are like broken, honestly. And then they have 2 objectives. Like repel, which what you do is you light the smudge stick when the ghost sees you. Like specifically, not you doing it, but anyone in the game lighting a smudge stick when it's chasing somebody. So let's say you're in a Discord call. You could actually which Discord calls ruin the immersion in my opinion, but if you're in a Discord call, you can tell somebody from across the map to light a smudge stick because the ghost is chasing you, and then the objective is done if it's chasing you. And then if it's not chasing you, then the objective obviously doesn't get done, or well, if it's not chasing somebody, it's the objective doesn't get done. Then you've got cleanse, which it tells you to do that, and then you can get a minute and a half of no hunts for free if you want that. And that gets you extra money, which is useful. Sound sensors are useless. Like, straight up. They are actually one of those items that even doesn't even have an objective. It's one of the three that don't have a use, that also don't have an objective to make them usable. So basically, like, I can only see a purpose of determining where the ghost is during a hunt to tell a single person where it is, while you have a chain of people telling that person. Like, that is so niche that it's not worth it. Like, that's the only use I can think of. Like, if you're going to try to find the ghost room with it, that's a fine challenge to do, but it is a completely useless item. Spirit box. Honestly, I'd put it at top of B. So, it is the most common evidence item. You can determine the ghost room with it. You can determine where the ghost roams with it. And that's really it. Like, you can it's also an evidence. The fact that there's three uses, but it's all about where the ghost is and how the ghost acts. On top of it, you can determine whether it's an alone or a everyone ghost on professional. So that can be really useful in certain scenarios. So that's about it for the spirit box. And strong flashlight. It's straight up just a better flashlight, but I would not put it in S tier. It gives you a much longer range of sight than the basic flashlight, while also illuminating the area around it a lot better, allowing you to have a very good sight range while in the dark. And then it has the benefit of also notifying you when a hunt starts by flashing. So, yeah, I think that's enough good uses. You can also do like that. The strong flashlight, you can also effectively see ghosts that are in their shady form of where their model doesn't fully load in. So, like, let's say you're dealing with a phantom that doesn't have its full ghost model load in. You can see it a lot better with a strong flashlight than a basic flashlight. So that's why I'd put a tier difference. Thermometers, I'd put it above Paramic, but it's pretty useless other than that. The item used to be a lot more useful, but because of the thermometers on like intermediate, I'd say are like B tier, but in professional they're C tier. And that's just because every room starts cold, and then the 2-second delay really hurts it. So, yeah. Tripods, they're theoretically useless, but I'd personally put them in. I'd put them right above the headcam because they allow for you to put in better placements of the video cam. But the video cam itself is also only an evidence item use, and it only has that kind of use. So it doesn't benefit you too much, but it does benefit you a little bit. If there were more items that you could put on a tripod, it might bump it up to B tier. But for now, I'd say it's a C tier item. UV flashlights are definitely like. I'd say UV flashlights are more useful than a lighter. Now, why is a UV flashlight so good? Uh, One, you can actually see footprints, you can see fingerprints, you can tell when a hunt's going on, and then it also can sometimes enhance like where you're going. Like you can kind of tell a general area. Like if you're focused in if you're in like a very dark area in the map with no lights on, it can kind of help slightly in some scenarios, but it doesn't really help. Like it'll also help highlight darker objects that are coming out. Like if the ghost is also in the shaded form of the model because it didn't load properly, uh, it can help with that a little bit, but not very much. But it also gives a cone of ultraviolet light, which you can send from show from across a room just to get footsteps for a bunch of photos. Now, video cams, I'd put them at worse than the book. Actually, no, I'd put them at higher than the book for one specific use. Uh, Actually, no, that's actually good. I know the reason why I'd put it higher. So, here's the reason why I'd put it higher. You can determine where the ghost is spawning more. You can find ghost orbs on it, and in a few cases, you can actually see fingerprints on doors. Very few cases that I've seen where it actually does work. Like if you watch in some videos, you'll notice in some cases it does happen. But other than that, uh, the video cam doesn't have any big uses. Photo cams are also S tier. Basically, they get you a lot of your money, and they also, in some cases, can get you evidence that, like fingerprints, actually. They, it also tends to be one of those items that has an objective tied to it, which is capture a photo of the ghost. And yeah, that's about it. Also, smudge sticks, I didn't mention this, but they help with escaping the ghost during a hunt. So they have smudge sticks help with 3 of the however many objectives are in the game. But photocams help with 1, but can determine an evidence off of a guess. And they get you all your money. So yeah, I know it's a kind of weird tier list, but to look at. But it's understandable when you look into how to use the items. Like, photocams are really good. I genuinely believe that smudge sticks and photocams are the best two items in the game because of what they do for you. In fact, photocams can determine a ghost type instantly, which is the Phantom. I didn't mention it, and yeah, that's the whole thing about photocams is, like salt, they can determine a ghost type off of one thing happening. But photocams do it without a secondary item. So yeah, alright. I think that'll wrap things up, and I hope you all enjoyed what this video for what it tells you, and I hope to see you all in another Phasmophobia video. Bye bye.